All right. And I'll let you know when you go live, Anna.
We're live.
All right. We are live.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Chair Anna Sexton, and I would like to welcome you to the July 26th, 2021 Neighborhood Advisory Committee virtual meeting. And we will now call our meeting to order. The Neighborhood Advisory Committee consists of 9 members, all appointed by City Council, with representation from specific community sectors. Members shall be residents of the city or the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction and shall reflect the socioeconomic diversity of Asheville. The term of office is 3 years. The committee was established to advise the City Council on neighborhoods within the City of Asheville's zoning and planning jurisdiction. The committee shall have the following powers and duties. 1. Develop rules and bylaws for the conduct of its business, including but not limited to meeting schedules, officers, voting, and subcommittees. 2. Develop a plan to strengthen neighborhood identity and resilience and to facilitate communication and cooperation between Asheville's neighborhoods and city offices. 3. Develop benchmarks and standards by which progress towards implementing the plan can be measured. And 4. Work on special projects that are consistent with the goals of the committee as assigned or directed by City Council. All committee members and staff are participating virtually, and we appreciate your patience as we work through committee meetings a bit differently. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the Neighborhood Advisory Committee page. We also have the option for the public to listen by phone live by dialing 855-925-2801 and entering meeting code 9247. And for those of you who plan to speak during our live public comment today, you will need to hit *3 to be put in the speaker queue. And for everyone out there listening and with us today, welcome. So I will now go through and introduce all committee members and staff who are participating virtually. For our committee members, please make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking when you have a question or would like to speak. Click raise hand, and when recognized, unmute your microphone. And please remember to mute after you're done speaking. Committee members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. As I mentioned, I'm Anna Sexton, and I am the chair of the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, and I represent zip code 28806. And up next, there we go, Babette Mays. Do we have Babette with us? I don't hear. Babette, are you there?
I'll try to text her if you want to just go ahead.
Okay.
Make sure she's okay.
Okay. Oh, there she is. Mm-hmm. Babette, sorry, you're muted.
Okay, I'm Babette Mays, and I'm vice chair, and I live in the Shiloh area.
Thank you. Greta Bush.
Hi, this is Greta Bush. I represent At Large, and I live in East Asheville.
JP Chalarka. I think I saw JP signed on. JP, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is JP, and I represent the 801 area.
Thank you. Mike Wasmer.
Hi, Mike Wasmer, at-large member in the South French Broad or Southside neighborhood.
And Wendy Hayner.
Wendy Hayner, representing 28804.
Thank you. And then we also have Peter Abzug, who represents at-large, and Sharon Summerall, who represents 28805. Neither of them are able to attend our meeting today. But today is our first official meeting with JP Chalarka as our new 28801 representative. So we're excited to have you on board and want to thank you for taking part in the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. So we also have NAC's City Council Liaison, Kim Roning. So Kim, would you mind just saying hello and introducing yourself?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your service. I wanted to let y'all know that this will be one of the last meetings I'll be able to attend regularly, but I will keep up communication with the chair and vice chair on important issues of your meeting.
Thank you, Kim. We also have city staff in attendance, and we've got Brenda Mills.
Good evening, Brenda Mills, Neighborhood and Community Engagement Manager and Liaison to the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Brenda. And last but not least, Jeremy Lett.
Good evening, everyone. Neighborhood Services Specialist. Glad to be with you all tonight.
Thank you. So to help our audience follow along today, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. And again, just a reminder to ask committee members to click the raise your hand icon, and I'll call on you to speak. And please state your name each time you comment, just so that folks who are listening in can put a name to a voice. So additionally, our Vice Chair Babette is our timekeeper for each meeting. So she will help keep us on track and help signal when discussion time listed is expired. So thanks for doing that, Babette. We'll start today with the approval of minutes for our June 28th, 2021 meeting. So want to just make sure everyone has had an opportunity to review those, which we should have. They've come as a draft and also in our meeting materials. So at this point, I'll ask for a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for June 28th, 2021.
Thank you, Wendy. Do I have a second?
Mike Wasmer, second.
Thanks, Mike. All right, I'll go ahead and take a roll call, go down the line. Babette Mays.
Yes.
Greta Bush.
Aye.
JP Chalarka.
Aye.
Mike Wasmer.
Aye.
Oops, excuse me, Wendy Hayner.
Aye.
Great, and then Anna Sexton, aye as well. So motion carries to approve last month's meeting minutes. And then now I'll go ahead and go over our agenda for our meeting today. We'll note any public comment that's come in, and then receive staff activities and updates from Brenda Mills. Our unfinished business today includes an update on committee vacancies. We'll also hopefully adopt our fiscal year 2022 Neighborhood Advisory Committee work plan, as well as the amended bylaws. And then for new business today, we have an old face who's joining us, our former chair, Phil Lenowitz, and his colleague, Rebecca, are from the AARP partnership, and they'll be giving us a presentation. And then we'll also receive an update from our Neighborhood Hero Working Group. Since NAC members serve on a few different boards and committees, we'll also provide some updates on those and then go over potential agenda items for next or upcoming meetings. So with that, moving forward, just want to check in, Brenda, to see if there were any public comments submitted.
No voicemail or emails at this time.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll turn it back over to you to provide staff activities and updates.
So this month, I thought I would highlight a lot of what our neighborhood specialist, services specialist, Jeremy Lett, has been doing. And then I'll follow up with a few things we've been doing. Jeremy is more on the ground than I am, because he's doing a lot of the community-oriented problem solving. So he's been working a lot on the neighborhood matching grant program, which we hope to roll out in August. If you remember, we got funding from City Council June 22nd thank you, Kim Roney and council for that. This is going to go a long way to make some serious investments into neighborhoods. We know neighborhoods, things rise and fall on neighborhoods, so we're really excited. Jeremy's done a really good job with that. A lot of research across the state. Community development in neighborhoods. The community development had asked us to talk about really getting them out and about in neighborhoods. If you guys remember, the city does our CDBG and home grant funding, and a lot of folks are interested in it, but sometimes always don't know all the details. This is a federal program. So they want to start getting out and about. Jeremy met with the CED Community Development Group, Paul D'Angelo. And so we're working on some ways for them to start getting out in the community, hopefully this summer. Summer's almost over. There's also been some concerns about youth employment opportunities. So Jeremy's been meeting in neighborhoods as well as with city departments on ways that we can create a pipeline for kids getting out of high school to come in to work with the city. I know you all are very familiar with our City of Asheville Youth Leadership Academy, which is Kayla. They do a lot of internship work in the summer, but they are still high school students. So this would be for younger folks who are interested in doing working for the city, which I think is great. One other thing with Jeremy is he's gotten a really good contact with our residents councils. They have not been totally active, and so they're back kind of getting energized and really excited that working with a couple of them on doing a plan on a page, which would be wonderful. Trying to talk to them more about how we can communicate with them, some of their needs, that kind of stuff, because that kind of brings up, we consider those neighborhoods, even though they, are just housing areas, they are still in neighborhoods. And so want them to be able to, look at some of the needs as a group and then talk about ways that they might be able to take advantage of this matching grant. And we'll have more about that next month for you. Really want to shout out to the work that's being done with Burton Street Community. Their meeting is the third Monday of the month, and we have a working group meeting with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, city staff, to include myself, Ken Putnam with Transportation, Parks, Roderick Simmons has been involved in that, and definitely Todd Okola-Chaney. We kicked off their, we're working on phase 1 of a pattern book. So what that would do is begin to talk about the history of Burton Street, kind of what the homes look like, what the neighborhood is about. They did some surveying last week. We'll do more this week with a report we hope will be done by December. And then that second phase will be planning and urban design, working on like a story map. So we're really excited about that. And then the mitigation plan that was approved by council in October of 2018 for Burton Street, we have covered just about everything. We're working on the park area, the sidewalks that were approved to be put in. We're working on a design. We're waiting on DOT for some of that stuff. The rest of the stuff we have generally done. It is in the works, and we're very excited. Also, parks work with DOT because they also will be putting some additional parking at Burton Street Community Center. So I attended Shiloh's second in-person meeting in their neighborhood meeting. Really excited to see neighborhoods getting back online. I know some people are kind of still doing virtual, which is fine. But we're still trying to get out there along with APD community engagement. They have been phenomenal and really answering questions because, each neighborhood has a unique situation in terms of, either crime or theft or whatever. And so that's been great, talking a little bit about how we're recruiting for more police officers and what kind of things neighborhoods can do to kind of be proactive about stuff. And that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Brenda. I don't see any raised hands, so we'll move on to the next item, but thank you for the report and for staying busy. We'll move into the first unfinished business item, which is our board and committee vacancies for 2021. So former members Joe Fiacola and Pastor Hardaway rotated off officially at our June 2021 meeting, which led to vacancies for an at-large position and a position representing 28803. And so at that time, we had very few applications come in. We didn't have any come in at that time specifically for 28803. So at our June meeting, it was discussed and recommended that we shift Vice Chair Bobette Mays from an at-large position to 28803 representation, so that there would be minimal lag time, but also because Bobette is super involved in the Shiloh community as well, and in the 28803 zip code area. So that seemed like it would be a good fit to do that. And then that would open up any applications that did come in for at-large sort of candidacy. And what we ended up doing is getting a big batch from the clerk's office and send it out for review. But ultimately, long story short, we did recommend that moving Bobette's nomination from at-large to 28803 forward to City Council for review and to bring her on board, and then also to approve another applicant for the at-large position. And that applicant is Elizabeth. I wrote her name down because it is long, but let me find it. Elizabeth Lickus Worley, I think is her last name, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. But she is also, coincidentally, sort of in the southern and eastern area of the city. She's in Oakley and has a long list of experience, as well as, I think, current involvement in the Oakley Neighborhood Association. So look forward to hopefully having City Council approve both of our recommendations for those two positions and moving forward to getting a full NAC roster back. So moving to that wraps up our board and committee vacancies updates. We don't have any action, we don't need to take any action on that item, but moving to the approval of our fiscal year 2022 work plan. The updated document is in your meeting materials folder. And this updated document is a continued iteration of what we discussed a couple of months ago at our sort of our working meeting or retreat, along with some comments and feedback provided from NAC members. So that is what Brenda went ahead and sort of married into the working plan, the work plan document that she put together for us. And so I think right now I'll open up the floor to any sort of question or discussion, or entertain making a motion if we want to go ahead and do that, so that we can get this thing approved.
Can I ask for a point of clarification? What you're referring to as a work plan is a document called the Neighborhood Advisory Committee Goals for 2021-22?
Thanks, JP. It is called, sorry, I'm trying to get into my folders.
That's the way it's labeled, neighborhood.
Okay. Thanks, Brenda. So our work plan document has our goals for fiscal year 2022, and also reiterates the Neighborhood Advisory Committee's vision and mission. And so any other questions or anything anyone else wants to discuss related to the work plan before making a motion to approve?
Yes, this is JP again, and perhaps again as a new guy, there's a lot of things that I might ask that have already been discussed. But in the goals, it wasn't clear to me what the definitions of success were for each goal. So what kind of metrics define that, yes, we have met that goal or not?
That is a great question. Brenda, do we want to, I mean,
So what I want to explain, so there's a vision for NAC, there's a mission, the goals were already stated. Those are things that they inherited. What you need to look at is the stuff that says update neighborhood advisory bylaws. Look at neighborhood representation. Those are the things we're going to be working on, and those bullet points under that are what we will be doing to get that done. Does that make better sense?
Okay, so then,
So
the
maybe,
goal,
I think what's happening is maybe that word goals is confusing you. This is what they do. So maybe we just rename that. What their actual goals is what's in blue, and the bullet points underneath are what we're going to do. To see success, those are the things we're going to need to get done. Does that make sense?
it's starting to, yeah, I think that it's a terminology thing.
Sure.
Right? So,
Sure.
okay.
Question. So we can look at renaming that.
Okay, all right.
this is Anna. Would it make more sense to where it says goals for fiscal year 2022, and then, like you said, the sort of the blue boxes, maybe we change that to just action items for 2022? Yeah.
I would support that approach because, again, coming from a very kind of standard definition of a goal is something to be done by somebody by a certain date, and there's some clear expectation whether the goal was met or not. And I think that what we're calling these goals are general headings related to action items, but then the actual specific goals and or objectives that have dates and more smart, attainable, realistic types of parameters underneath it seem to be the actual goals themselves.
I agree with that. This is Anna. Anyone else have any other questions or points of clarification? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve our fiscal year 2022 work plan?
Does that include with the renaming? Okay.
With the renaming, yes. Thank you.
Okay. I'll advance the motion to approve the goals and rename the headings.
Thank you, JP. Do I have a second?
Wendy Hayner will second that.
Thank you, Wendy. All right, I'll go ahead and run through our roll call. So we'll go ahead and start. Bobette Mays.
Yes.
Greta Bush.
Aye.
JP Chalarka.
Aye.
Mike Wasmer.
Aye.
Wendy Hayner.
Aye.
And then Anna Sexton, aye as well. So the motion carries. Appreciate your input, JP. And now we have an officially approved fiscal year 2022 work plan for the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. All right. Our next item of unfinished business is the Neighborhood Advisory Committee bylaw amendments. And we left last meeting in June with adopting all proposed amendments, and someone feel free to jump in and clarify if I'm getting this wrong, but we adopted all proposed amendments with the exception of what was left in Article 2, Section 1 under purpose. And we agreed to come back to that section at this meeting. However, we didn't receive any sort of offline feedback or comments from individual members on how to wordsmith that item. I know that there was some conversation about maybe wanting to beef up that language, but I think we left it open to NAC members to send us any sort of proposed revised language they would like to see, and we didn't receive anything. So with that said, I'll open up the floor for discussion on that, but I also would strongly encourage folks to go ahead and consider making a motion to, I guess, move forward with all the amended bylaws, and so that we have an officially a new set of adopted bylaws that we're working from.
Hi, Anna. This is Greta. I'm sorry, I didn't send anything in because I had sent it in a couple of times previously. So I'll try to find real quick the wording that I had sent and propose adding it. But generally speaking, under purpose, I think it could say the purpose of the NAC is to advise the City Council on neighborhoods within the city's planning and zoning jurisdiction, as well as support and educate them. Something to do with supporting and educating that feeds into the following powers and duties that come in section 2.
Okay, and thank you, Greta. This is Anna. Brenda, I'm going to come back to you again. I apologize. I feel like I also asked the same questions over and over, but if we were to make that change, is that something that has to go back toward like the establishing resolution where we have to take things back to council, or can we go ahead and make a change under that section?
I think that this, your bylaws are what you come up with. Now, there is some language like Joe had mentioned at the last meeting that came directly from the resolution, but I think it's okay to update this.
Hi, Kim. I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
So Brenda, can we check with the clerk's office and see if it needs to come to council for approval?
Well, what I can do is, if you want to hold on, I will grab the resolution and see if I see anything mentioned in there while we're on the meeting. So, because this would be, if we hold this over again, this is 3 meetings that we've had this discussion. So if I'm going to come off camera just for a minute, let me see what I can find, and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Thank you so much.
Sure.
While you do that, Greta, would you mind going ahead and just sharing that small change again at the end of that section that you proposed?
Sure. Yeah, I actually pulled up the committee goals that we just approved.
Okay.
And it is listed, my suggestions are listed in there. So if you look at Neighborhood Advisory Committee representation by zip codes, it's bulleted under there. So in addition to advise City Council, it says it has been suggested it should also include listening, educating, and helping to develop and support neighborhoods as, I don't think it should say as a community, so period. Listening, educating, and helping to develop and support neighborhoods, period.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
While Brenda is checking on the resolution and whether or not amendments need to go to council, does anyone else have any input on that one line, or excuse me, Article 2, Section 1 purpose of this NAC bylaws, and is there anything else that folks want to see changed?
This is JP. The only question or risk I would raise is by making that last statement and adding it to the purpose, does that then carry any implications related to any funding or budgeting or any type of other unforeseen consequence that we're not considering right now?
This is Anna. JP, that's a great question. To my knowledge, it does not, but we can confirm that with Brenda here. So Brenda, I see you're back online.
Yeah, I didn't understand the question. I'm having hard time hearing him. I'm sorry. What do you?
Okay, so we're making an amendment to the purpose to include an education and communication component. The question was, by making that change, does that have any implications on any budgeting or any reallocation of resources to this committee or by default to the budget or anything else?
No, generally, advisory boards don't have a budget. That you don't have a budget because you're not a department. I mean, anything that you would need to do, like if we had an event or things that comes from communications and public engagement department's budget. So we try to do stuff that way. But to answer the question so that we don't even have to further go down, this purpose is not called a purpose in the resolution, but it is stated in there. So if you want to go back and augment that, you would need to go back to council for that.
Okay. So it sounds like right now we're sort of at a crossroads where we can, oh, go ahead, Brenda.
What I'm going to say is the purpose is a one sentence statement, but then when you look down in powers and duties, it talks about all the stuff that Greta is suggesting we do. So you guys do. So the powers and duties talk about all the things that would have to do with educating, supporting. Just reread it again. If you feel like it's not thorough enough, then we can take it back to council. We wordsmith it and take it back to boards and commissions committee, and then they would take it to council for approval.
Thanks, Brenda.
So this is Greta. Sorry, I can't raise my hand.
Go ahead, Greta.
So what we had talked about at the last meeting is we knew it had to go to council, and the reason that we want to change the purpose is because the duties don't point back to the purpose as is stated. So I'm just asking that if we add in the extra information that I mentioned, I think that would make it all fall into line. Because right now we're doing activities that don't point back to the purpose. We do a lot of extra stuff that is educating and listening. So I am fine if I would vote yes to go back to council. I thought we had already agreed on that at the last meeting. So whatever we have to do, if it has to be a working meeting or a working group, then I'd be happy to be on that to get it prepped.
Thanks, Greta. This is Anna. So it sounds like I'm going to recap here, and then Brenda, follow up with me, please. So we have made several amendments or proposed amendments or revisions to our bylaws. We voted at our last meeting to approve those. Those are going to have to go to council anyways for official adoption. Correct, Brenda? Or is it just, no, those do not. But the
What you go to council for is what you're changing in your original resolution that sets you up. So if you want that because what you're basically doing is amending it and adding to it. So you just want to change more of what you feel like you're supposed to be doing, right? You're allowed to create your bylaws. It says that.
Right. So, and I apologize. I'm
That's okay. That's okay.
As well. So all of the work that was done as part of the working group to sort of fine tune our bylaws and bring them up to being more current. We voted at our last meeting to approve all of those changes.
Right.
But the one sticking point was this Article 2 duties, Section 1 purpose, where we wanted to expand on that language a little bit. And at this point, the only, I think, proposed change that I'm hearing is, adding a half dozen words to the end of that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to go ahead and do that and vote to have those amendments take effect today, we can do that all here. None of that has to go from here, then be approved by council, I guess is my question.
Okay, I'm a little confused. So you've already approved everything except that section. If you want to approve to make that amendment and then go to council, you can do that. But that will not change until you go to council.
Okay, so none of these changes go into effect until we go to council.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'm gonna double check with the clerk's office tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Okay.
thank you. That was my ultimate question. So I think the only thing that what I'm hearing, the only thing that we need to do today is to I'll entertain making a motion to amend Article 2, Section 1 purpose to read: the purpose of the NAC is to advise the City Council on neighborhoods within the city's planning and zoning jurisdiction and to listen, educate, and help to develop and support neighborhoods. Period. Greta, does that capture what you're wanting the changes to capture?
Yes. But listen to neighborhoods. But yes,
Great,
thank you.
great. No problem. All right, so that's what we're hoping to have. Does anyone want to go ahead and make a motion in second so that we can get that moved on?
I would make a motion.
Thank you, Greta. Do we have a second?
Mike Wasmer, second.
Great, thank you, Mike. All right, we'll run through roll call. Bobette Mays,
Aye.
Greta Bush,
Aye.
Mike Wasmer,
Aye.
JP Chalarka,
Aye.
Wendy Hayner,
Aye.
and Anna Sexton. Aye. So, in addition to the amendments that we approved at our last meeting, we'll make that one small change and then it will go before council for final approval. Thank you, everyone. It sounds like we are working towards crossing that one off of our list. All right. Our next item of business is new business. And our first item under new business is a presentation by two folks from AARP, Phil Lenowitz, who is a former Neighborhood Advisory Committee chair, and he is an AARP volunteer. And then also Rebecca Chaplin, who is the Associate State Director for AARP North Carolina Mountain Region. And just some background, Phil reached out to me about his volunteer work with AARP to see how we might be able, or how they might be able to collaborate with NAC to just further build capacity in the community. And we thought it would be a great opportunity for Phil and Rebecca to present to us and just see how we can get everybody better connected. So thank you both today, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Brenda and or Phil and Rebecca.
I'm happy to take it away from here.
Great.
Thank you. I hear a little bit of feedback. It sounds like it's gone, and I hope Phil is here. I don't see him. Maybe he's on the phone, but I will get started and we'll just go with the flow. This is a perfect place for us to be, and many people might, have a sense of who AARP is through commercials or by being a member or not by being a member. And our goal here today is to inform you more about who AARP is in our community. Hopefully that is exciting and it excites some possibilities. We also hope to empower you to speak up, and maybe not even today, but in the future, and to think about, hey, this might be an opportunity to build capacity, like you said, Anna, with AARP. Maybe we can be an ally and a partner. And finally, to involve you and you involve us as we go forward. So we hope this is the start of a beautiful friendship or the continuation of one. You can go ahead and go to the next frame there. So like I said, we are in the community, and AARP is a huge organization. I've been with AARP for 5 years, and I'm always still mapping out the territory. And we hope maybe you'll see something here and you'll put a pin in it and you'll say, yeah, I'm a family caregiver. Or, you know what, like my community could use some support, my neighborhood, and making it more accessible to more people. And I want you to put a mental pin in that so that we can map out these opportunities together. Go ahead and to the next slide. You may or may not know that we are the nation's largest nonprofit, which is pretty cool, and we have people in our community. What makes us powerful as an organization is our people. It's not money. It's not PACs. It's not giving money to influencers or elected officials. It's our 38 million members, and it's our 1.1 million members in North Carolina that we can say we're working together to make our communities a better place to age, and that's for current and future generations. Much of what we do is not just for people over 50 now. The sustainability of Social Security is not just for people who are retired now, it's for future generations. And I think it's important to realize that a community that is good for older adults is a community that's really good for all ages. We can go to the next slide. And just to put a person to who this big organization is, Ethel Percy Andrus is our founder. She was an educator. She was an activist for fostering racial justice in communities in the 1950s. And after she retired from the whole career in education, she saw that there was another fight to have. And that was on behalf of people aging in communities. So one single person, one woman, one educator, she started the nation's largest nonprofit because she realized that people who had retired were entitled to receiving some sort of economic security. She found her neighbor living in the backyard in a chicken coop who had some cognitive impairments and a lack of caregiver and financial support. And this was before Medicare, so people didn't have insurance after they retired, health insurance. So you can kind of see this thread that runs through our organization at supporting financial and health security as we age. And AARP is a membership organization, and they certainly do offer products and services to that end. Fortunately, Phil and I work for the part of AARP that it's not just for members. What we do for one, we do for all. And so the work that we do in communities, it really fulfills the mission, vision statement, the motto. And what I love about it is that I work with people 50 plus mostly every day to make these changes. It's to serve and not to be served. It is people who want to give back in our communities, bringing this social mission to life. You can go to the next frame. So, it's hard to imagine when we see a commercial or something that it is in our communities, but this is our state and these are the regions that we serve. And I have the opportunity to serve that the mountain region. That's 22 counties. And of course, we can't be present in 22 counties, but our volunteers can. So, our volunteers in Jackson County or in Madison and Ashe and Watauga, they're the people talking to their county managers, their city officials, their state representatives, their members of Congress, because they are the people that AARP is all about. So just to give you a sense of what region we serve, that's over on the left there. That's the mountain region. You can go to the next slide. I'm not trying to rush through this, but I'm cognizant of your time. So I just want to be, efficient in my talking, but we'll have an opportunity for some questions too. Some may not be aware of our main issue areas, our primary issue areas, and they're listed on the screen. Let me just give an example. Encore entrepreneurs, that's where people over 50 who want to start a business. They're the most successful cohort of people who want to start a business, age cohort, because they have a lot to offer. They have experience, they have knowledge, they have resources. So we do work to support both the business community, but also older adults who want to start a second career as a business owner. We have lots of programs and do a lot of advocacy for caregivers. I just got off a call about a federal effort for a Credit for Caregivers Act, which is all about supporting working caregivers through, tax incentives, because we know that in order for people to stay in the workforce, if they're caregivers, they need support. So we bring light to many of these issues, and I'll just point to one more there, HomeFit. HomeFit is a program that it's an educational model that we offer frequently that helps people to know how they can make affordable, accessible changes to their home so that they can age in place. Most people want to age in their homes, the homes that they're currently in. There's another whole concept called aging in community, which isn't just about aging in your home, but it's about aging around the people who you know will support you. But that program's an hour long, and I promise that you would leave a program like that thinking, I can make at least one change to my house to make it more visitable by all ability levels, or to help me to age in that home. So these are just an example of the issue areas and where we have both education and advocacy work happening regularly. You can go to the next slide. I'm going to touch on our state advocacy issues, and I think this will point to that we're a nonpartisan organization. We're not liberal, we're not conservative, we're not Democrats or Republicans. We fight for issues. The Small Business Retirement Program, or Work and Save, is one really great example. It helps small business owners, and actually this context, I think it's defined as by the Small Business Association as 500 employees or less. So that's a pretty big small business, but to help those who work for small businesses to save for retirement. Many small business owners don't offer a 401k or retirement plan. So something we're really busy advocating for right now, very active on, is Work and Save. And it makes it easier for employees of small business to direct deposit into an account that helps them save. When this option is available, people tend to save for retirement. I won't go into the nuances of it now, but it's at no cost to the small business owner. So that's a really great example of fighting for future generations of people so that they have enough money when they retire. Because right now the trend is that people are not saving for retirement in a way that sets them up for success. I'll just go all the way to the right. The Advanced Practice Nurse Bill is called the SAVE Act, and that's so that nurse practitioners and other advanced practice nurses can operate to the full extent of their authority, and that especially in rural communities will help people to have access to the care that they need. It will also help to make care more affordable. So I'm just giving you a few touchstones of what we're working on right now, and it's not me working on it, it's Phil working on it. It's our volunteers and our community members calling their elected officials to work on these issues. So there is an example of our state priorities at present. We can scroll to the next slide. So where it gets really local is in our neighborhoods and in our communities, and we're very committed to fostering what we call livable communities is the big catchphrase, but that really means, a community that's friendly for an 80-year-old is friendly for an 8-year-old. I mean, 880 cities is kind of a frame coined by Gil Penalosa to describe that phenomenon. And some of the work that we've done are, simple as, working with Safe Routes to School to have safe walk to school days, working on some of the community's tactical urbanism projects, which I know some of you have seen that are quick build projects so that we can more affordably test and learn how to make greater mobility options for people moving through areas. And then on the lower right, that's a project we've been working on accessory dwelling units. So it helps people to age in place if they're aware that the city of Asheville is one of the greatest places that you can build an ADU or accessory dwelling unit. And that means you could maybe have a caregiver living close by to you, or you could bring your mom down from somewhere else so that she can live close by right on your property. Some people call them granny flats or other phrases like that, but it's just another unit on your property, a smaller unit where you can, it can help people to age in place. So these are some examples of go ahead to the next slide, Brenda, of the livable communities work that we do. This is Phil's slide. So this is where I'm hoping that Phil is here.
Phil is here.
Oh, good.
I don't know why we can't hear him.
Did he call in or is he on video?
I did text him, but I think he called in.
Okay.
Sorry.
Phil, are you?
Let me see.
I mean, it's okay, Brenda. I don't want to put you out here. I know, like you said, people's time is limited. So Phil, if you're able to talk, interrupt me at any time, please, and I'll just quiet myself down. When we look at what makes a community livable, these are just some of the frames of reference that we use called the 8 domains of livability. So some of those are physical infrastructure things like transportation, outdoor spaces and buildings. Do people have a place where they can sit down on a bench while they're waiting for the bus, a covered place where they can be? Our outdoor places accessible? But we also go to things that are maybe more, what does one of my colleagues says, social worky, but less tangible. Respect and inclusion. How do we ensure that, you mentioned there's some vacancies on the NAC. Like, how do we make sure that people over 50 are aware of opportunities to be included? So this is our domains of livability. And I know that Phil was really comparing this to some guiding documents that the advisory committee uses, that the neighborhood advisory committee uses, finding some alignment there. Okay, we can go to the next slide. I keep thinking I'll hear Phil's voice pop in, but that's why it's great to have a team. I know he's been traveling. So I wanted to inform you about a summit, a 4-part series that we have coming up. And this is something that might be of interest to some of you. And it's an example. Like, this is a program we put together by talking to some of our community leaders to see where AARP fit in, to how we grow. How do communities grow? I think if you live in the city of Asheville, you see right now that there's always going to be struggles with that. How do we grow with grace, preserving our natural assets? And one of those assets are our people. The second point to this summit is going to be about broadband access, followed by housing, and then transportation. This summit is going to include the South Central Appalachian region as it's defined by the Appalachian Regional Commission. And so that's going to include Virginia, Western Virginia, and some of Eastern Tennessee, because we believe we have a lot to learn from our neighbors in our other states, and they probably have a lot to learn from us. So this 4-part series is coming up. We'll make sure you have information about it, since you are active people in your community looking to share and learn best practices. You can go to the next slide. You mentioned the Burton Street project, Brenda, and I think that's like a super example of a project that should apply for the AARP Community Challenge Grant. This grant comes up every year. We award maybe $2,000 to $10,000, $20,000, somewhere in that range usually is awarded. There's no limit on what you can ask for, but my hint is that that's a good window of money to ask for. And it's for projects like the Burton Street project. It's for placemaking initiatives. It's for quicker build projects. This year in the Mountain region, we awarded a project in the Friends of City of Hendersonville. So it's accessible. It's something that in our community, you could fund a project in your neighborhood that you think makes it more livable. And I'll be happy to share tips if you decide you want to go for that in 2022, if any of the neighborhoods. Usually the funding is available for the applications February through April. And then we're just announcing the winners now. So it's got to be a quick project that can be completed that calendar year. And you can find more information at the website there, aarp.org/community challenge. You can go to the next slide. This is a tool that you may be able to use in making the case for needs in your neighborhood. It's up-to-date secondary data that AARP has pulled together at this site, aarp.org/livability index. You can type in your street, your address, your very own address, an intersection. You could type in a zip code, and you can find a variety of lenses you can look at how livable is that area. So it's a useful tool in working with influencers and elected officials, or just getting to know what some of the assets, opportunities, and challenges are for your community based on data. So that's a tool. I will move forward. Yep, you can go to the next slide. Thanks, Brenda. So we would love to encourage and invite anyone here to consider finding ways that we can work together. And I know we've met with Brenda, and she's shared some great ideas. We are fueled by volunteers. That's our power. And we have some really resourceful people. So maybe you heard of a program here today that you think would be beneficial in your community. Everything we offer is free. And so you can reach out to us and you can say, there's like, my mom's a caregiver, or I'm a caregiver and I need to plug into some support and education. Maybe you want to find ways for us to share information with you, and I'll let you know some ways you can stay up to date on what we're doing. And maybe you're a part of an event that you're hosting in your neighborhood, and you think, well, it'd be great to have an ARP table there. They can, talk about fraud and scam prevention. I know that was a big issue for my neighbor, or any topic that I've mentioned so far, any of our issue areas. So I'll just open up the floor for a minute and see if well, actually, we'll go to the next slide, then I'll open up the floor. So ways that we can stay connected after this great opportunity to be with you today we have a regional webpage, and that's the aarp.org/mountainNC. So all of our upcoming events are listed there. We are still in a virtual programming mode, at least through September, but we've got a lot of really cool virtual programs, and we're happy to partner on developing those. We do the whole Twitter, Instagram thing, so that's our handle. And my contact information is there as well. If anybody here is interested in, volunteering or working together in any other number of ways. So I would love to hear from you. It'd be great to hear some voices on, anything that you heard today that you weren't aware of before, or questions, ideas that you have.
Hi, Rebecca. This is Anna, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to put together the presentation and to come to speak with us. There are some things that I knew that AARP did just through involvement with being on multimodal, but also just my day-to-day work as far as the tactical urbanism initiatives and some of the ADU initiatives, but was excited to hear more about the community challenge grants and just seeing how that can sort of be an additional asset, I think, to neighborhoods that maybe want to pursue funding for projects where either the city doesn't have any more funding available, or the project that they're looking for may be a better fit under the community challenge grant than what the city's neighborhood community grants are doing. So I made a lot of notes here for information.
Great.
Here.
Thanks, Anna. And if something comes up that interests somebody outside of the Community Challenge Grant window, I would say reach out early and let's talk about it, because sometimes we can find ways to support a project financially or in kind outside of the grant process. So thanks for that, Anna.
Great. Brenda, I see your hands raised.
Rachel, thank you so much for coming to do this wonderful presentation. I'd like to Jeremy and I would like to meet with you, because as we're looking at investments in neighborhoods, we can start combining some of this. There are some real needs in the neighborhood. I know in some of our communities, there's some, housing rehab that needs to be done that we could partner maybe with Habitat for Humanity, some other folks that are really trying to work on doing like weatherization and different things. And so if we can do some partnering along with the funding that they can apply for through the city, we can really do some amazing projects. I'm looking forward to us continuing the conversation.
Great. Thanks. I welcome that. Any other comments? It's not just, aging is great, but AARP is not just for older people. It's really something that we should all consider, because we're all aging too.
And Phil is here, you guys. I don't know what's going on with his computer. Bless his heart. I've been texting him, but he just could not. So sorry about that.
Well, I'm glad he made it happen for me to be here. So thank you for the opportunity.
This is Anna again. I have just a question for you. Do you know, aside from the couple of tactical urbanism projects that AARP has partnered with the city and Asheville on Bikes to do in town, if there are any other specifics or transportation initiatives that you all have sort of directly been involved with? Because I saw that you mentioned about, better transit stops, things like that. So I was just wondering if you all have been involved in other things specifically in Asheville.
Let me just tune into that for a second and see if anything pops in. We have not done a transit stop here, but it would be a great project to work on. One of our avenues is to get information to our community. So sometimes when there's a feasibility study or an opportunity for community input, we can email our members and let them know. So that's one kind of channel or avenue that's useful. Every 3 months or so, we do a coffee with a transportation planner event, and we just stream it live on Facebook so that members and non-members can be aware and talk to our transportation planners directly live and in person. Those are some other examples that come to mind immediately. We've done some walking, programs and walking groups, but that's the extent to our involvement so far in this region.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else have any comments or questions before we let Rebecca go?
This is Wendy Hayner. I have a couple of suggestions that I'd like for us to look at, and that is maybe to do a do-good activity for AARP in conjunction with the NAC. And what we could do is maybe look at some of the difficulties in the neighborhood that they have, and maybe we don't have enough trash cans. Maybe they need to start looking at putting more trash cans out so we don't have so much litter, or maybe looking at the possibility of traffic lights, traffic cameras. We have had so many problems lately with our police losing enough policemen that I was seeing a lot of people recently running red lights, and that would be really bad in a neighborhood like I live in, that I've seen some situations like that. So I'm just thinking about AARP and how we could actually do an activity along with you. If you are doing a cleanup with Riverlink or something like that, we would be more than happy to join in if that's a possibility.
Yeah, that's a great suggestions. All of them are noted, Wendy. And we're also happy to join into an idea you have where you see in your community, hey, here's a real issue. Like, let's join forces and make something happen. Right now, we're still prohibited from doing in-person events till we're clear about guidance. But as soon as we get the green light, and especially outdoor events, it sounds like a wonderful idea. I love all of the ideas that you've suggested. Yeah. And I can keep you informed of similar kind of programs that we do to see if the Neighborhood Advisory Committee wants to join in. But let's keep the line of communication open because you know what's happening on your street. Thanks. I saw Babette had her hand up.
I saw Babette's hand as well. Yeah, go ahead, Babette.
I think you're still muted. There you go.
Just want to say we were just kind of limited on time. That was all.
Gotcha.
Thank you. This is Anna again. I think since we are wanting to be cognizant of everyone's time who's tuning in, as well as Rebecca's time and the committee members' time, we'll go ahead and wrap up now. But Rebecca, I think just sharing your contact information with us as well, or if folks are interested in getting on some sort of contact list or mailing list, we can work to make that happen to just sort of stay updated on new programs or initiatives, or if there's anything that comes to mind and how to get their community involved or look at a specific issue that they maybe want to seek assistance with. So again, thank you for presenting. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Jump in, Brenda.
I'm sorry. That thing's so loud and it interrupts people. I'm sorry. Phil just says he wants you to know thank you for letting him come. Them come.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Phil, as well for attending, even if we weren't able to get connected with you today. And again, thank you, Rebecca, for taking the time to just share with us all of the different ways that it sounds like I think folks can get involved with AARP on a neighborhood level to, like you said, build capacity and do good things. So thank you very much. All right. Moving on now, I'm going to turn it over to the Neighborhood Hero Working Group to provide us an update on making changes to the potential nomination process and awards process. Greta Bush, Wendy Hayner, and Mike Wasmer are a part of that working group. So I will turn it over to them now to provide us an update. Thank you.
Hi, this is Greta. Mike or Wendy, if you wouldn't mind, I am in transit, so it'd be difficult for me to speak. Would one of you be able to give a good summary? Otherwise, I can stay put and pull up my notes.
I have childcare duties ahead of me, and it's kind of loud around here.
Okay, I will just go really quick then. Let's see. So we took, let me just pull it up. Okay, so the three of us talked, and we kind of talked about what we thought might be stopping people from, it seems like it's been hard to get nominations. So we have a few recommendations on some changes, and maybe try to make this award a little less intimidating, perhaps. So our first suggestion is we would like to change the term from hero back to neighborhood volunteer. So it would be the Neighborhood Volunteer of the Year Award, hoping that would make it feel more attainable, because hero might just set the bar too high and people might think that, you know, their nomination isn't worthy of that, or something along those lines. Our second suggestion is that we do more of a quarterly call out for a neighborhood volunteer spotlight. So it's not as comprehensive of a submission, but it would be like a smaller, just little like shine on somebody in the community. And if it becomes, we're hoping that if it becomes more of a regular thing, that more people will know about it, and it might start people thinking about, oh, who could I nominate for that? So it would just be a short write-up about something a neighbor is doing. And we would kind of outline suggestions for people, again, to try to get ideas going in other people's heads on who they could nominate. So it would be somebody helping to do a petition or advocate for their neighborhood, or someone who's picking up litter every week, or the person who organizes all the social gatherings. And we can even suggest subcategories like maybe a neighborhood communicator or advocate, or a neighborhood organizer. That could be anyone from like someone who actually organized the association, or someone who organizes social events. Suggestions like that. And we thought these spotlights could be featured on the city's social media, as well as in the neighborhood e-news, and maybe even in an ad in the Mountain Express or the Citizen Times, and possibly even pitched to WLOS just to have like a feel-good story. Sometimes WLOS likes those. And depending on the spotlight, it could be an opportunity to highlight other resources for neighborhoods. So, for example, if the spotlight is someone who organizes cleanups, we could add a brief closing that says, if you'd like to organize your own cleanup, contact Asheville Greenworks. You know, they'll supply you with the gear you need, that sort of thing. And we would like to open it up to both present and historic activities that people have done. So there's so many great things that people are doing across the city. We don't want to just limit it to, you know, a certain time frame. And that might also open up a potential for more submissions. Let's see. Oh, and then the volunteer of the year would be chosen from those spotlights. So that way we have like at least 4 to choose from. But we would also suggest that we focus on the volunteer of the year. It seems that we choose a busy time of year during the holidays, and that can get kind of pushed aside because people are busy doing all the end of year type things and holiday things. So maybe we could do that volunteer of the year submission and announcement more in the summertime. Can you all hear me? I feel like I'm just talking into a headset here.
We can hear you, Greta. You're doing great.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then lastly, let's see, in an effort to simplify the submissions, we recommend, I already mentioned that. We wrote up a brief press release that we can have shared. We kind of finished our edits real close to this deadline, so I don't think anyone has these notes that I'm looking at yet. So we came up with a brief press release that hopefully captures the essence of the things that I'm speaking about right now. But potentially also, in addition to a press release, sharing an infographic or some kind of JPEG that neighborhood leaders can just post on their different social media platforms or in their own e-newsletter. So it would be included in the neighborhood newsletter, but also ideally emailed in a separate email specifically about this to the neighborhood leaders, and then we would ask them to share news about our advertisement for this spotlight to help get the word out. And then let's see.
Greta, this is Wendy.
What's that? I just have a couple more points to go over. What's that, Wendy?
I was just going to suggest that we were going to make it the neighborhood service page easier to find from the city's homepage. We're having difficulty trying to find that. And we noticed that.
Yep. I haven't gotten. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to mention that next. So, it would be nice I think currently people have to download a PDF. So it would be nice if the submission could be a Google form that can just be submitted on the city's website, and it would go to both Brenda and our chairs, but also just a Gmail account or something, a link that we could all see. So it's just easy for everyone to access to see who's submitted. But yeah, when we were thinking about that, we noticed that it is pretty difficult to find the neighborhood services page. Like, it's not intuitive. So we would like to suggest that when you go to the city homepage, like, there are a couple places we thought the link to the neighborhood page could go. So one example is go to the homepage and then you click on services, and then there's an alphabetical search tool, but there isn't anything that says neighborhood services there. So that could be a place for it. And then I think Mike had found a place where it could be listed under engage. So just to make it a little bit easier for people who are just landing on the homepage to find, because I'm not sure that a lot of residents realize that the neighborhood services department is in the communications department, so they might not think to look there. So just trying to think of all the ways that we can make this like easy for people to apply. And then, yeah, when we have the Google form, ideally the communications are pretty simple, and then the Google form would include any further details, like those suggested different subcategories that I had mentioned about, like either neighborhood communicator or neighborhood organizer, that sort of thing. Yeah, so Wendy, can you think of anything else that I didn't say? That's everything I've got on my notes here.
Yeah, I think you've covered everything that we discussed. We recommended moving the deadline for the Volunteer of the Year away from the holiday and into the mid-year. What we found is that when it's during the holiday, a lot of people are so busy with all the other activities that they don't really think about someone that they'd like to nominate for their neighborhood. So we suggest that moving it from January, the holiday season, to more in the middle of the year, maybe July or June, when the spring is out and the gardens are being done. This would be a great opportunity for people to start looking at people to nominate. That's about it, Greta.
Yeah.
For covering everything.
Yeah, I think there was one piece that we had left hanging that we thought we could also discuss tonight, which is just the timing of everything, like you were saying. And that Mike had suggested to us that we need to reconcile the quarterly submission versus the deadline for volunteer of the year. So if we start now, with quarterly, then by this time next year, we would have those 4 to choose the volunteer of the year from. But we weren't sure if people on the committee had different ideas about timing. So any questions?
Sure, this is Mike
Go
here.
ahead.
The main thing was just like whether we can have the capacity to do a rolling submission if we have a task force that's looking at the submissions and doing that sort of thing, and then at which point we have a deadline that we would end up picking the volunteer of the year. And yeah, I think we're exploring those options, and that it is going to ultimately be up to the people that will be making those decisions if there is a task force specifically for doing the choosing.
Yeah, and the task force could actually address the timing issue, because I know that if we chose during the summer, that's when we get some new, like that people rotate off around our annual meeting or our whatever we call it, retreat. But if there's an ongoing task force, if anybody were to rotate off and rotate on, then there would still be like a unified body that is in the know about, what's going on. So hopefully that would help smooth things out. Does anyone have any questions or comments, or maybe we just need to send this out so people can read it and digest it, and maybe we should, at the next meeting come back and talk it over so that I don't know that we would take any action tonight on this because people haven't had a chance to digest it.
This is Anna. Thank you, Greta, Wendy, and Michael for doing the work to sort of get creative on how we might approach the award and recognition, I think, differently moving forward to make it more accessible. And I think I tend to agree that it's a lot of information. It's a lot of good information, but I think it would be really helpful for the rest of NAC to sort of have something in written form that folks can sort of review and take some time to digest and think about. And I think for me, because I know we have to wrap up this item really quickly. Like you said, I don't think any action needs taken, or it would be premature to do so at this meeting. But the biggest question I have is addressed to Brenda as far as just sort of capacity wise. Is there any sort of anything that you see in this sort of initial set of recommendations that might be hard to implement?
I don't have any heartburn. The issue when you talk about doing something quarterly, I just need to know details. Because you're asking, my office would have to take care of making sure those. I think you've written a press release. So if you've done everything, and it's just a matter of getting it to our social media person, absolutely. I think the next steps need to be, if you could send those notes, I'll put that in the meeting folder for everybody. If you could work on the questions for the Google form, you've got the press release, that kind of stuff. So when you come back, we can look at all of that and then go from there. Once the materials are done, it's just a matter of getting it out and getting it back, And then what we would do, I think quarterly, would be some type of certificate, and then we would give the plaque for the winner from that group of people. So I do think everybody should get honorable mention.
This is Anna. Thanks for that, Brenda. And thank you all again for working on that. I like the direction that it's headed and the ideas that you've brought up. A nomination. So I think unless I see any hands raised, I think we'll just go ahead and get that document out to the rest of the committee to review and kind of think about, and we can revisit that at our August meeting. And I think we've got a good foundation for making some of those changes. So thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands raised, so I'll go ahead and move on, and we will wrap up this meeting. So the next item on our agenda is our NAC member updates on other boards. Right now, we typically get monthly updates on the Open Space Task Force and the Multimodal Transportation Commission. Sharon and I are on the Open Space Task Force. Sharon really is the point person, or I would say our primary NAC liaison on that, and is not here tonight to give us an update. And unfortunately, I have not checked in with her, as I have not been able to attend the past couple of Open Space Task Force meetings. So I don't have anything to really share with you all today, but I'll see if I can get with Sharon and maybe get a quick synopsis of where the task force is at before our next meeting. For multimodal, that's really easy. The way that those meetings fall, I had a report to give to you last meeting, but our July meeting is actually on Wednesday, so we haven't had any multimodal meetings since our last NAC meeting. So that takes us to our agenda items for upcoming meetings. And right now, for our August meeting, oh, go ahead, Wendy. I see your hands raised.
Thank you so much, Anna. I have a question, Brenda, and that is on Lucy Crown. Were we able to work with her on the skid pads to see if she was going to be able to come and speak to us about the Braille skid pad status of some?
I am so sorry. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't know what skid pad.
For that, I think I know what you're talking about. So yeah, related, this is Anna, related to agenda items for upcoming meetings. We are having Lucy, hopefully it sounds like, at our August meeting.
Yes.
Come give us a presentation on the Close the Gap project that the city is, I think, sort of in its final stages of doing, which is the Greenway, ADA, and pedestrian plan for the city. And to answer your question, Wendy, that is a presentation where you should be able to ask Wendy for at least some preliminary updates on, like, truncated domes, I think is what you were likely referring to at crosswalks, where so for folks who are visually impaired. So yeah, we should be getting a Close the Gap update in August from Lucy. It sounds like we'll also be getting a neighborhood grants program update from Brenda and staff at our August meeting. And then for future meetings right now, we're still looking to find a time that doesn't conflict for Chris Collins to give us a presentation on the Technical Review Committee and its functions and how it relates to the work that NAC does. We're also looking to hopefully get an update on reimagining public safety and someone from the police department regarding, like, community resource officer presentations and continuing community engagement. And then also, Brenda, I'll turn this over to you really quickly, since you brought it up and it seems like it's a good idea. I'll acknowledge you in just a second, Mike, but regarding board training and that as a future item.
Yeah. So one of the things I suggested, because we have so many new members, that we have a time when we take maybe 3-4 hours with a lunch or with breakfast in the morning to really kind of dig in, talking about board service. JP had some good questions about the mission, vision, and goals. You know, things change over time. Since 2012, you know, a lot has changed with our neighborhoods, with our government, like with our focus. We've done a we've done a new comprehensive plan. So it'd be a great time to kind of do some board training, how to vote in boards. Like, for example, when we call for motions and seconds, there shouldn't be 5 minutes of silence. Just because you motion and second doesn't mean you approve the thing, whatever the motion is. It just means it moves it forward. So we want to kind of take some time to do that, looking at around the September, October timeframe before it gets too cold and too dark at 5. We do it during the day if we could manage it and we could schedule it in time to be helpful for everybody. And then we just plan it, find a location to be at. We'd be in person. And then you need to take some time to talk about what you want. We have some main things we want to get trained. And Anna mentioned having some presentations. So maybe that's a time to bring Chris Collins in about technical review committee, because he does have a conflict, with our 4th Monday meeting. So maybe he could come during the day. We can give it the time, a half an hour. He could present for 10 minutes. You guys could ask questions, and then we could continue, bringing them in over time. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks, Brenda. Mike, I saw your hand was raised earlier, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I was hoping that at some point we could have a future meeting that would be regarding neighborhood meetings with developers or developer arranged meetings with neighborhoods. I just recently found out there's a 5-story tower proposed that's within 1,000 feet of my home, and it's just I saw that the neighborhood meeting happened last month, and I had no awareness of it. It's within the downtown zoning, so I understand that it might have just been the downtown neighborhood association that would have been notified, but we are adjacent to it. So I also know that there's been other concerns for other neighborhoods, such as Oakhurst, with other developments, that those processes and the way those meetings have been conducted have had some maybe some shortcomings that should be discussed. I don't know who exactly we need to discuss that with, but I think it would be a good thing to do.
This is Anna. I think that's something that we can definitely look into. I think also what would be helpful for me regarding that, and maybe all of us, if we come to the table and have an agenda item in the future on that topic, is just sort of getting up to speed on what the current requirements are and the current processes, and everybody familiarizing themselves with that. And so I know that some of that information is available on the city website. Brenda, if there's any other information that you know of that you think might be good to augment that, definitely feel free to send that our way. And I think that is also an opportunity for NAC to maybe sort of recommend some changes on how things are currently working if folks are seeing some shortcomings with those processes. So
I'll send out an email just specifically on development. I'm going to encourage you again. For those of you who are new, this will be new to you. For those of you who've been on the board, you need to sign up for development notification. If you sign up, that means you get a notification when the application is put in. There's also a place, and I'll give you all those links on Simplicity, where it shows a calendar of when neighborhood meetings are going on. I know I met with Chris and Sasha Vertunsky in planning, and we're working around giving them some suggestions about how meetings should be handled. If the documentation that I am seeing is that they're doing a pretty darn good job. They're mailing letters beyond the 200 feet, but if we're missing stuff, need that feedback, because Chris and them really appreciate that feedback. So it's development services. They're handling all of that. And then we can, go from there. Definitely.
thanks, Brenda. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I thought about mentioning it, and I didn't. One thing that I have seen that has kind of been a frustration is that at some level, what serves as a sign in these developments as a public notification for anybody outside the 200 foot is often an 8 by 10 sheet of paper posted on the property itself. And that is a disservice because, I mean, yes, we drive by these places all the time if it's in our neighborhood, and we would see something if it was bigger than a loose leaf piece of paper. But I look forward to having that conversation later. Thanks.
JP, I see your hands raised as well, so go ahead.
Just to bring up a potential item for an agenda for next conversation is the matter of speeding along Depot in the chunk of where a grind and where some of these other businesses are. I've been talking to some of the community members that are concerned about the lack of safety that the pedestrians feel in that area because people are going down Depot Street before they approach the traffic circle at very high rates of speed. That's a safety concern that several members of the community have brought up.
Okay, this is Anna. Thank you. So potentially traffic calming and how to initiate a traffic calming request or get some assistance from the city as a future agenda item as well. I appreciate both Mike and JP for providing some additional items for future agendas. It'll keep our pipeline full and make sure that we've got presentations and information that's valuable for next. So with that said, our next regular meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 23rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. It will be in person rather than virtual. And so our in-person meeting will take place at the first floor conference room in Asheville City Hall. And the public will still be able to leave voice and email comments for in-person meetings. Meetings will be recorded via Google Meet and provided online on the NAC webpage. And so there will be directions on the city's engagement hub for how to participate in that meeting. So that moves us to adjournment, and I will now go ahead and adjourn the meeting unless any objections. And so adjourned. Thank you all, and we will see you in August. Take care, everyone.